Patty here. It is June 12th and I am nature journaling. And I am out by the wood pile but sitting over by the sedges and the rushes today. It's a beautiful day. The sky is blue. We have some cumulus clouds. The temperature is about 80, but it's very comfortable here in the shade. And I brought out my little zoomy microscope and I decided to go on a hunt to find the Prothallus of the fern, because the other day I was studying the fern life cycle. So come along with me. Now this is the first area I'm going to check because I do see some tiny ferns just starting to grow here. The Prothallus is only 1 cell thick, so I should be able to find it with my zoomy microscope. Now the moss down here I think is Atricum. There's a couple of tiny fungi down here. See if I can get a picture of those. And right next to it are these tiny ferns. But I'm looking for the Prothallus.
Eureka! I spent a long time with my zoomy microscope scanning the ground all around the new baby ferns. I believe I found a fern Prothallus. It was amazing to see this little heart-shaped structure with this new tiny fern growing from it. And this is going to be the sporophyte generation of the ferns. I had to take 2 shots with the zoomy microscope because of the very narrow depth of field. In the first shot, you can see the tiniest fiddlehead ever of a young fern leaf just unfolding above the Prothallus. And the Prothallus is fuzzy in that picture. But in the next picture, you can see the Prothallus much clearer, but the little fern head is fuzzy. While searching for the unseen, and that is the tiny Prothallus of the fern, I did notice a mite, and mites are usually unnoticed. But this one was such bright red. I believe it's the Red Velvet Mite. I looked on the internet, but a lot of the pictures they say is the clover mite. I think that was the Red Velvet Mite. I think people get the Red Velvet Mite confused with the red clover mite. But the Red Velvet Mite is much larger and has a little bit different shape of a body. The Red Velvet Mite is also called the rain bug. It's cousin to the tick and related to the spiders. It's really funny because it really doesn't have a head, just some mouth parts coming out the front of the bug. Walking along the lane, I had 3 discoveries. One was this whorled loosestrife. It had little tiny buds, hardly noticeable, but they're going to become yellow flowers. And you know I love to stop and look at any plant with the whorled leaves.
Ooh, look, a new plant with leaves in a whorl. 4 leaves in a whorl. Get smaller towards the bottom, rounder. As it goes up, they get longer and more pointy. And there's some buds, but I don't see any flowers yet. That's a different one. There's 2 of them.
Another discovery was a little brown butterfly. Many people would have overlooked it because it wasn't very colorful. I did get a good look at its wings, and it did have eye spots. But I didn't really get that good of a look. I'm not really sure if this little brown butterfly is a wood satyr or the dark morph of the wood nymph butterfly. So hopefully I'll see it again. And I found something else that goes quite unnoticed. And people don't even think about this, but poison ivy does have flowers. I think they were pretty. They were dainty little yellowish-green flowers with 5 petals sort of curved back, and the center looked orange. And what was very interesting was that the pollinator, bumblebee, that was buzzing about the flowers, the pollen basket on the hind leg was also orange. So I'm thinking that the poison ivy flowers do have an orange pollen. And that's what the bumblebee was collecting. There's a bumblebee up there on the poison ivy flowers. I couldn't find any research online about it. Even my book, Plants of Pennsylvania, I didn't see where it said what color the pollen of the poison ivy flowers was. So for right now, my theory is going to be it's orange. And these poison ivy flowers will become berries, and the berries will become food for the birds. Well, we're still about a week away from the summer solstice, but what I'm looking at are the dark greens of summer. And here's a little patch of wild strawberries. White blossoms just opening. It really was a fun day, spending a long time with my zoomy microscope looking for the fern Prothalis, which is the first one I've ever seen, accidentally discovering a red velvet mite walking by, chasing a brown butterfly. I really do need to learn to become a better wildlife photographer. And investigating the dainty little flowers of the poison ivy plant and how they're important to pollinators, and perhaps they have orange pollen. And then there was my world loosestrife, and you know I just love leaves in a whirl. I want to give a shout out to Loretta and Everly and Susan, and my possum peeps Yvonne and Sherry and Rachel and Susie, and everyone else who came along today on this nature journaling adventure. Bye-bye.